Guten Morgen.
Hello.
Oh, thanks.
All right. How are you? Oh,
Good.
where are you?
I'm in Utah.
Aha, looks nice.
I don't know what you can see. All you can see is my second floor.
I can just sort of see like a stone wall behind you. And there's some stairs.
A fireplace. That's the backyard.
Nice.
Oh, through the windows, I believe.
Yeah. Yes, I can now see the windows. Yeah. Ah.
What's been going on?
Pardon?
What's been going on?
Not a lot. No, that's not true. Just trying to sort out the videos and do some voiceovers, and but other than that, not much.
I
Keeping
might
busy though.
have to reboot my machine. This thing is slower than shit.
I still haven't been able to get the database. It keeps saying can't open measurements or something. I've got measurements on there, but not the database. You had that for a while, didn't you? Where you tried to open measurements that weren't there.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Sorry, I had someplace else. I'm trying to get a revised quote to Midwestern University. She says we're possibly ready to move forward. I need an update quote. I think my system's working. I don't think I've made any major changes since last time.
No, I've just been trying to download the new database, and I seem to have lost all the measurements that we took in Vegas.
Hi.
Hi there. How's it going?
Good. How are you guys doing? Sorry about being late.
Good. No, that's okay. You got stuff you got to do.
Yes.
We're okay. We're okay. Give me 2 seconds. I'm trying to finish up an email here, and I'll be
Awesome.
right back.
Not a problem.
So while I'm finishing up this task, can you tell us a little bit about the specialty side of your practice?
Yeah. So I've been in specialty a few years. My old practice, did an SMAP, so I've used that before. And then I joined Berkeley, which is a Houston-based OD-MD group. So the MD had done a little bit of sclerals before, but then I joined and I've been kind of increasing the sclerals and hybrids and RGPs and everything. So I was kind of wanting to get a profiler to make things a little easier. I was kind of used to doing one in the past.
So you're familiar with profilometry then? You've got some experience with it.
Yes, kind of. I haven't used the SMAP in probably 2 years. That was the only one I've really used. I've seen the others, but not actually gone into the details of them.
Okay, well, you're going to get a kick out of this demo, I believe. We're always making improvements on the software and the number of algorithms we have, and you're going to see that there's a lot of flexibility, way more flexibility than the SMAP in terms of which lenses you want to use. But
counting back our remix and just having easier first lens, being in a faster paced OD-MD practice, I don't have as much time to spend with each patient throwing on 5 different lenses. So we're going to cut back on that.
Okay, well, my first task is done. Let me share my screen.
We're done.
We're done.
It's what you need.
Yeah, I'll send you a quote. Just sign it and we can move on.
Yes.
I know, right? If I was in charge, we'd already have it.
Can you see my screen?
I can.
All right. So welcome, Dr. Skidmore. And I assume it's okay if I call you Kelsey.
You can.
And Karen Brown-Belvet heads up our professional affairs over in Europe. And she has worldwide responsibility, not just Europe. And she knows a little bit more about actually.
I've lost you.
Kelsey, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Karen, it's on your end. All right. So I'll keep going.
Karen's frozen.
Karen's froze. Yeah, she can be cold sometimes. Karen, I hope you heard that. So Karen heads up our professional affairs division over, she's based in Holland. Actually, right now she's in England, she's moving to Italy. But anyway,
wow.
so if you elect to go down the Igla road, she is going to be a key member of your support team over here. She runs the installation training modules, and she's always there as a point of first contact for technical questions. I'm always here for anything you need, but yeah, she's going to join back in. So you told us a little bit about your practice.
What'd you say?
You told us a little bit about your practice. So this is a very loose agenda. It's just the three of us, and you've already talked to us a little bit about where you are with specialty lenses. I could probably, I'm going to scream through the profilometry section, you know, something like that, and then we'll get into the ESP itself, the eye surface profiler, and we'll walk you through the different steps: image acquisition, then the data that's available, then first lens fit algorithms, then direct connect, where you talk live to the lab, your data's transported to the lab, and then Karen will also walk you through the Ortho-K modules. She knows a little bit more about it.
Y'all's isn't like the SMAP where you have to do the fluorescent, take multiple images like that, right?
Yeah. So profilometry is based on fluorescent light, and the sclera itself is not a reflective medium. So if you need to get information about the surface of the sclera, you need to have something that the camera can see, and that's fluorescence from the fluorescein. So we shoot 346 nanometers of light at the thing. Bing, bing. There's one camera, two light sources.
Okay.
I'll walk you through this here in a minute. So yeah, you need to use fluorescence, and you need to, if you use SMAP, you need to use a fair amount of fluorescein because yeah, you got to be pretty liberal with the fluorescein. The biggest challenge, I'm going to jump to the question you're going to ask. The biggest challenge is just like the SMAP, it's the image acquisition session. You got to pay attention what kind of tear chemistry you're working with. Your techs have got to be skilled at opening up those eyes as wide as they can be. The patient's needs to be relatively fixated. The unit has got to be aligned and focused. It's not as complicated as I'm making it sound, but I'll walk you through that stuff. Karen, hi. Good morning. Welcome back. Can't hear you. You're on mute.
I'm so sorry. For some reason, the London Wi-Fi is rubbish at the moment.
So did you hear my nasty comment?
No, I was off by then.
I got to be honest. So Kelsey said you're frozen. And I said, yeah, she can be cold sometimes. Anyway.
Not true.
So then we'll wind it up with lab partners, walk you through the list of algorithms that are there now. We're constantly updating the thing, the reality of lab neutrality, quick ROI, which maybe perhaps you're interested in, but you can take your team and say, look, we can pay for this thing in 6 months. And then Karen jumps in, we'll talk about training and next steps. So I could skip this one. Scleros. You know this. These are amazing devices. They've done so much great things for so many people. And the advancement of sclerals continues to progress. And now we're at the point where we're getting pretty darn close to what I would call fully freeform lenses. And that requires an instrument like the eye surface profiler to actually pull it off. Otherwise you're going to be fighting City Hall for months. And the interesting thing from my perspective is this circle down there on the lower right, there's nothing vicious about it, but a lot of people want to call it a vicious circle. Dog chasing its tail. And that is, if you go back 10 years, we've learned a lot about the sclera through the use of devices like profilometry, which means lenses have adapted, lenses have progressed, have become more complicated to handle the complicated eyes. And so you get a more complicated lens you got to fit. The educated guesswork kind of gets trickier and trickier. The more you need a device like a profilometer to actually succeed. I'm curious, what's for lunch?
Leftover fajitas. Sorry, starving.
Nice to be down in Houston, I guess. Okay. All right. So the eye surface profiler itself, it's obviously based on profilometry. You can see the image over on the right. Got one camera, two light sources. They go off almost simultaneously. When you hit the button on the joystick, you won't even know that two things going off at the same time. Single shot versus the SMAP, which wants 3 images.
So you don't have to look in all different directions.
No. And we like this better. I mean, we don't claim 22 millimeters of scan diameter, but we claim 20, which I think is plenty
Mhm.
wide enough for contemporary sclerals. But yeah, you don't have to worry about, did I get all three of those gazes correct? And do I have to start over again? And the other big thing with merging three different images is the merge point is going to be just an average. And so what's going on at the merge point might be an important part of the fitting challenge.
Mhm.
So one shot, what you're going to hear us say, shoot, shoot, shoot. That's because while the patient's there and the floor scene's in good shape, take 2, 3, 4 images and pick the best one. Not that we're merging them.
Yeah.
500,000 data points, so highly accurate resolution, super high. 2 microns on the cornea, 10 on the sclera. I used to think 2 microns on the cornea really didn't matter much, but now that we're in Ortho K, it does matter quite a bit. So Karen will walk you through that one a little bit.
Awesome.
You guys fit any Ortho K down there?
I used to. Berkeley has not yet, but I am trying to get that up and running. So that's another thing that made y'all a little bit more appealing, is the fact that y'all work with so many labs and do Ortho K now. So
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's got to be part of your myopia management portfolio.
yeah, Berkeley wasn't doing a lot since there's so much more surgical, but since they've been expanding and seeing more kids, I think it's needed. So I'm kind of in the process of getting that up and running.
This sounds technically like an ophthalmology center.
It was primarily ophthalmology, and then the office I'm at has, excuse me, it's been just an ophthalmologist for like 40 years. He sold it to Berkeley about 10 years ago. And he's been wanting to have an OD that's on staff to do all the specialty fits. He did a few himself, but he's like, I'd rather do surgeries and you handle all the fun lenses.
I think you might have landed that highly qualified OD. Okay, so lab neutrality is one of the big things that sets us apart. We talked about that. I'll go into more about that. We'll walk you through the lens list. So we'll jump into how you get the image and what you can do with it. So I'll quickly go through this, and if this doesn't sound familiar, what SMAP is doing, stop me and we'll jump in and clarify. So pre-appointment, you want to be thinking about what the tear chemistry issues are. If they've got issues, then you want to start looping them up a couple days before they show up. You also want to get them out of sclerals if they're current wearers at least 2 days before they show up, because the impression rings need time to disappear, go away. And if you don't do that, the impression rings are going to throw the data off. You're going to be able to see it. You're going to go, oh, shoot, I guess I should have had them take the sclerals out. But you cannot easily use that data if you see those rings. So you got to get them out. Patient presents. You're going to put some more hyaluronic acid type drops into the eye to get it even more looped up. You're going to have patient come up to the instrument, pre-align the instrument. We'll walk you through how you do that and what you see and what the keys are. Have the patient sit back. You instill the fluorescein. Everybody has their own technique, but what we recommend is about 45 seconds before you put the strip in the eye, you want to put a drop of blink gel or something similar on it so that it soaks up as much fluorescein as it can. You're going to instill it superior, nasal, inferior. Did I get that? Temporal. It's superior, temporal. It's so 3 spots. You're going to want to have the patient, move their eye around a little bit, disperse it, dim the light, have the patient come up, back up to the unit, double check the alignment, shoot, sit back, blink, shoot, blink, shoot, and you're done. So that sounds like a lot. And in some cases, it can be super quick. In other cases, it can be a little complicated, depending on the pupil fissure, depending on the tear chemistry, depending on the patient's cooperation. So anyway, that's image acquisition.
So does it matter using strip versus using fluoresce drops?
I don't have a preference. Karen, do you have one preference or another?
So most of the USA uses fluoresce strips rather than the drops because of the concentration with the hyaluronic acid. We have got drops in the UK that are slightly different, that have a better concentration. So I think most people use strips.
Okay.
Was that the question? Sorry.
Yeah, strip. And
Okay.
before we end, I think we're friends on Facebook. I'm going to bring you into the Eaglet's Nest as a users group, and that will be your opportunity to poke around, ask any question. worldwide users you want. And you can ask questions like that. I mean, we have opinions, but these guys do it every day. And there's all sorts of cocktails out there. A lot of people, you know, put a whole bunch of strips in a jar of blink gel and let it sit there. I don't know. I shouldn't even talk about stuff like that. But anyway, here is the Vispher elevation map, which is what we're going to get into here. Karen, have you brought the software up, or do you want me to?
I have got software, so
Okay,
I
I'm
can.
going to turn this over to you at this point, if that's okay. And we'll get back to the scleral profile map here in a second. I will stop my sharing. And it's
I will
now,
just open up the
Karen's
measurement.
show.
Sorry, bear with me a second.
So, Kelsey, is there a deadline here on this call, or you got some time left?
I shouldn't have a patient for at least about 30 minutes or so.
Should be good. Okay, cool.
30, 45, should be good.
Should be able to cover it in 30.
Perfect.
That is if Karen doesn't freeze it.
I'm just picking up a measurement. Although my software is working okay. Well, some of it is.
So while she's
Share.
bringing that up, we just launched software version 6.1. We like to call it Prime is the name of the software. And last September is when we brought the Ortho-K module up into the package. And we are working on some additional Ortho-K designs. Right now, all we have is Paragon CRT, which we use to help us put the module together. But in the next couple of months, we'll have Wave, we'll have Euclid, we'll have TrueForm, we'll have P&L, Valley. This is, I mean, our focus for the last 3 or 4 years has been sclerals, because that's where the specialty market was, and now it's starting to adapt. So, okay, Karen.
You can see my screen, okay?
Yes, I can double Mr. Double.
Mr. Double Pinguecula.
That's
Yes.
Got plenty of
So,
those.
Wow.
well, that will make it so much easier in that case.
Yes.
So once you've taken the measurement, it will open up in the it's default into the Bisphere elevation map. So that's the map that you can see there, and immediately you can see there's quite a few things going on here, where you have your corneal sphere and your limbal sphere. You've got your sim case on the side there that will give you a good idea. You've got your KPI, so that's like a keratoconus key sort of indicator. So this one only 28%. Could be on the verge of, but that just gives you some measurements there. You've got your limbus offset, HVID, VVID, pupil, and pupil offset. So depending on what you're going to do, if you're going to do something like Ortho-K, it's always worth just getting that on, making sure that your calipers are actually in the right place on the to get your HVID exactly as you want it. I'm just going to turn that back off. There we go. So from my point of view, what we would focus on to start with is actually taking good measurements. So looking at sort of the source map, making sure that you've got your alignment. So this is what Tom was talking about earlier, where you have your Purkinje images in the red circles. And I don't know if you can see the 2 snowballs there. There's sort of 2 snowballs that we need to have vertically above each other to get the focusing right. Angles. So the tangent angles will give us an idea on if there's any dryness. So these little lines that you can see here are a bit of dryness. So there's not enough fluorescein covering. So if you have a lot of that, put in a bit more fluorescein and retake the measurement. So it's just, as Tom said, picking the best measurement of the 3 that you're taking, so you can use those for the labs. Gotcha. A lot of our customers just say rubbish in, rubbish out. So they really focus on good measurements, making sure that either you or your technicians are taking good measurements. It's normally something that we recommend that you do with 2 people. So someone to actually get the eyelids open and someone to maneuver the ESP. It is doable on your own once you've had a bit of practice, where you get the patient to pull the lower lid down and you can take the top lid. Gotcha. So Tom is going to talk about this in a moment, but I'll just show you the scleral profile map. It just gives you an idea on what's going on, would help you to design the lens. So you could sort of see that's fairly spherical, but you've actually got quite a lot going on the sclera there that makes it a little bit more irregular, suggesting you might need something like a toric or a quad lens. Gotcha. So once you're happy with your measurement, you can actually, were there any other of the maps that you wanted to go through, Tom, for now, or?
Mostly the Ortho-K and the scleral. That makes sense.
Yeah, I'll do the
Does it tell
Ortho-K.
you how much toricity there is? Or is that something the lab interprets it themselves?
So you can check and see what's going on at different chord lengths. So we're just going to go back in the bicycle elevation map. So you can sort of just have a look and see what's going on at a chord length of 13, which is quite often where you would be getting your inner haptic landing zone. So in this case, actually, the difference between min seg and max seg is 0.16. So yes, that's sort of indicating that there is toricity going on there. We normally say if it's over 0.1, you'll be looking at something like a toric landing zone. So depending on which lab you use, the lab will have recommendations on how to order it, or there's the online calculator if you use something like OneFitMed.
Okay.
AccuLens will just do it all for you. So depending on which lab you're going to use.
Okay.
And then again, you can sort of just see what's going on at 15 to determine if you might need to go for a quad, or if you, yeah, so actually it's less toric at 15 than it was at 13, where you just have the difference of 0.9. So for something like this, you probably end up with a toric rather than a quad.
So Kelsey, what you can see here is you can get the data from any diameter ring you want.
I go customize.
Yeah, you can also mouse over the image itself and get the data at that particular spot. So Karen, is this alive?
I'm just hovering over the pinguecula there, so that will give you the heights and things like
There
that.
we go. Okay, I see it popped up. Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Yeah.
So you can see anything you need anywhere. The source map is going to show you whether the alignment was good and whether the tiers were pulled back far enough. Can you hit the source map real quick here?
Yeah.
What?
Purkinje
Save it.
images.
There
Yeah,
it
yeah, we did briefly go through that, where you want your Purkinje images lined up with the red circles and then your snowballs.
And did you show her
Vertically.
the tangent angle maps and how you can take
I
get a
did.
reading on what the floor scene's doing?
Yeah.
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 All
I
right.
did.
I should have paid more attention.
Where were you?
So yeah, let's jump over to look at some Ortho-K images while you're up and running.
I'm just going to show you first lens fit before we jump over to Ortho-K, if that's
Okay.
okay. So first lens fit really just depending on which lab you're going to work with. So we're just going to pick Bausch & Lomb just because Tom knows those best. So we're just going to pick the Bausch & Lomb. We just said that actually because of the chord length of 13, we're looking at something like a toric. So they would recommend you the Zen by elevation map. Looking at the HVID, we've got a HVID of 12.3.
Yeah, you better go 17.
And then you hit the calculate button and it will just come up with either a suggested lens, or you can sort of place a trial lens for the over refraction on the eye if you wanted to know the power.
And I'm guessing you can customize the apical and mid peripheral clearance.
Yes, you can. You saw those numbers there. Those are based on the fitting guide, but you can go up or down off of that. That's part of the artwork of scleral lens fitting versus the science. So that gives you that flexibility. You can change anything you want, but we make it easy to change those two clearances. And then when she hit calculate, there's 500,000 data points going up to the cloud. All the algorithms sit in the cloud. The software itself sits on your laptop, on your computer in the office, and you can install the software on any number of computers you want. So typical practice has a file server where the core files are kept. And then you have, as long as you have contact with the file server, you can be working with the ESP software anywhere you want, your home, your office, exam lanes, vacation on the beach, whatever. So yeah, that's super flexible. We allow changes with the recommendations, but I guess what I was trying to say was 500,000 data points going up, 500,000 data points going back. So depending on your bandwidth, it can take, I don't know, 20 seconds. It's not instantaneous. And the reason we split up the cloud versus the software on your laptop, on your computer, is we are constantly making some tweaks to the algorithms. You know, you get in the ESP eaglets nest and everybody's like, well, with lens XYZ, I don't like 350 microns of clearance. I like 275, and then the conversation. So maybe we drop down the average, the normal clearance based on that. That means we don't have to ask everybody to update their software.
It just automatically does.
Yep. Okay, and all right, Karen, what's next?
So as you can see here as well, we've just there's some blue circles which normally indicates there's something else going on. So in this case, that's the pinguicula. Sometimes if you get them random, then it's normally because it's dryness or it's picked up some sort of uneven pattern or something like that. But in this case, it's the pinguicula. So that really helps you with sort of finding the height of the pinguicula. So sort of hovering it over the top of the pinguicula, it tells you exactly the height. It tells you the position of the center of the eye, the sort of and exactly where it is and how big it is, which will then help you design your microvolts if it's a Bausch and Lomb lens,
Yeah,
right?
so
Tom?
you're gonna see this. You're gonna see this out clear in a moment when she hits direct connect. But everything you need to define the pinguicula is right there. Now, is it automatically ported over to the order form? No. That's something we want to do down the line.
Does it
but
say in the X value, is that like 8.06 millimeters?
from center? Yes.
From
From
center.
from the center.
So
Okay.
you're gonna to get the width. You're gonna want to take the lower, subtract the lower number for the circle from the higher number.
Okay.
On the horizontal axis. So we'll show you the order form and how you come back to this and get the data you need. On the right, you can see we've got an over refraction table set up to go. So when you key in the results of an over refraction, that will be
So-
populated in the order form as well.
It will sort of suggest a base curve here. So if you've got A3, but actually you don't have to have the trial set. So you could just put a gas permeable lens on. Say you haven't got an 8.3, you can just put in what exactly you're putting in. So an 8.5, Bausch and Lomb lenses are -2. Then you can just put in what over refraction you've got there. So say that's -2, it will then calculate everything that you need. And it will put that on the order form for you as well.
Interesting.
So the zone, the terminology that we use here, so this the SEG1, SEG2, and the APS1, APS2, that normally corresponds with the lab. So whatever landing zones or whatever names the labs give their own lenses.
In other words, it's in
So
the
then
lab.
once you're okay with it, then you hit the direct connect button.
Mhm.
And then the data is being exported. I probably have to stop sharing and go into
you
the
should-
order form.
Mine, it pops up. The order form pops up.
Yeah, but you're way more clever with Zoom than I am, Tom.
Is there a spot to put like your fit notes on there at all? Do they care about that? Or are they only using data from the eaglet?
So when the order forms comes up, and so listen, what we're doing right now is we're jumping over the fence from the eaglet side, direct connect over the lab side. So every
Mhm.
lab handles this a little differently, but they all have the ability to entering notes. And you're going to see this. We use Bausch Zenlens here for a couple reasons. One, she's right, I know it reasonably well. And B, their order form is fairly simple. It easily describes the core value of direct connect. Boston site has got downloaded software that you have on your PC, as does iPrint. Planchard has their online fitting tool. A couple other people have order forms like the P&L order form. Every lab handles this a little differently, but it's all the same core thing, and that's automatic transmission of the data and the ability to. The other thing that we're going to see when the order form comes up is, okay, Karen. So I can
Now,
see.
normally the order form is a little bit quicker, but my Wi-Fi honestly is just not the greatest today. So yeah, so this sort of normally is pre-populated once you're all set up. You've got your patient name, right eye, left eye. Everything else it's copied over. So the diameter, base curve, your SAGs, your APS. You can then choose the material or treatment of the lens. We don't normally worry about ProLate or O-Blade because it all gets calculated for you. Or I suppose you can
And
put it in
again,
there.
this is B&L's order form, so we don't really have a lot to do with this. I mean, we told you we needed to have on there, but
Yeah.
And then this is where you would put in the microvolt that you may want for your Pinguecula. So you say yes, then it will give you all the measurements that you found on your Biosphere screen, then you can fill those in yourself there. So you've
Yeah,
got
so
your,
go back, yeah, Karen, please go back to the software and show her that the width, height, axis, and decentration are all right there.
So that's something we enter in ourselves. They're not taking it straight from there for us.
No, unfortunately not yet. It's on the list of things for software upgrade down the road, but
Okay.
it's 4 numbers.
Not bad.
Yeah, better than you know, reading the fluorescein pattern and trying to
True.
make educated guesswork. I hope I'm not offending anybody, but yeah. So there's all the data you need. You can see the axis. You can see the decentration. You can see the width. You can see the height. And with the height, you're going to want to add your preference, but typically about 125 microns on top of the height of the Pinguecula itself.
So you said the X is from the middle of the blue circle to the middle of the cornea.
No, the X is from the left side of the blue circle to the right side.
Oh, okay. So that's a whole
Width.
7.9 millimeters. Okay.
That's
That's
big.
larger. Okay.
Can't be that.
no, I
Is it
think it's the
large?
difference. So the
big.
the actual size is the difference between the X and the Y. So the actual diameter would be the difference between X and Y from there to
No,
there.
it's the difference between X and X.
X and X.
Okay. I was just curious where the X, what
X and X.
that was. Was it just the blue circled diameter?
Well, it's paying attention where your mouse is. So she could be mousing over anywhere and it would tell you the location of that point.
Okay.
So to get the width of the microball or whatever
Uh-huh.
lab you work with wants to call it, you're going to take the offset on the left side and the delta between that and the right side of the blue circle.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I think so.
So she's
So
going to jump
I'll-
back to the order form. So you'll see there's an area in there that you can key in some notes. The order form goes off to the lab that you chose. And with the order form goes the MSR file. That's the core file that we're looking at in the software. And the consultants at these labs all have copies of eGLITz Prime 6.1 on their desktop. And so they can be looking at exactly the same image you're looking at, which when it's a complicated situation, that could be almost invaluable to be able to actually look at the same thing, have somebody on the phone say, what do you think about this? You know, should I worry about that? Yeah, this has been a very popular feature of Direct Connect, the ability to have a conversation. It's as if you guys were looking at the same computer screen.
That's nice.
Yeah. So you can see the note section, key it in, off it goes. Hit submit, it goes right to B&L's consultation desk along with the MSR file. Okay. And Karen, do you want to jump over to Ortho-K?
I shall. So I'll initially I'll just share the software again. So first lens fit Ortho-K, we say it's even more important to make sure that you've got your centration and you're focusing right on that one, because we're just focusing on the central part. At the moment, we've got the CooperVision CRT lens on here. So you sort of just plug that in, or it comes up automatically, whatever the spectacle prescription is. And then again, press calculate, and it will sort of come up with your first lens fit Ortho-K lens. Ordering is the same way. So you press the direct connect button and it will order it for you. Sorry, my Wi-Fi is not liking this very much. Once you're happy with your initial measurement, you can actually set it as your baseline measurement. So this will then compare it to your follow-up measurements. So again, it's sort of just come up with the suggested diameter. And here, again, we sort of say, just make sure that you have the HVID calipers in the right place, just in case they're slightly off, to get that right diameter that you need for the Ortho-K. So this is where you then set it as your baseline measurement. And from here, I am just going to share a different screen with you. So I just need to stop this one again and go into this one. So here you can then actually, when you see the patient again, you take another measurement and you set that as your follow-up, which will then give you your comparison map. So it will give you your original biosphere elevation map. It will look at the actual curvature difference map. It will look at your power profile and the tangential curvature difference map as well. So it puts it all on the one screen, so you don't have to keep going between your first image and your second image. It puts it all together.
Nice.
So in this case, we're sort of looking at someone that's had about a -4 correction with Ortho-K. And that's sort of it in a nutshell on Ortho-K. But as I say, again, it's sort of about making sure that you get the right measurements. And we are just about to go, just in the process of adding some more Ortho-K lenses to the system as well. Shall I give the controls back to you, Tom?
Yes, absolutely. Kelsey, was there any other aspects of the software you want to take a look at?
Not really. I think that, excuse me, that summarizes most of what I wanted to see. Mostly knowing more of the details and labs and all that.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna get into that right now.
Perfect.
So she showed you the scleral profile map. Here's a quick rundown on the 4 different versions of the map you're going to see: spherics, torics, quads, and custom. We use the word custom to confuse everybody, but we had to come up with a universal word that talked about, hey, there's something there you got to pay attention to, a bleb, a piguecula. Not, it doesn't say you got to go free form. That's not what custom is applying there. But if you see this, it's going to just suggest the road that you go down.
Okay.
That's it. So we're going to walk you through lab neutrality, lab partners.
You're not sharing your screen at the
I'm
moment.
not, I have not.
You're
hit
not.
share.
There we go.
Okay. So here is the scleral profile: sphere, toric, quad, custom. Here's the wind up. I'll walk you through a couple of these things. This one I talked about this. So yeah, with Direct Connect, most of the consultants in all these different labs we have versions of the software on their desktop, so you guys can talk the same talk. Some labs have an ESP in house for basically for R&D, or they have a clinic on the side of their lab. Yeah. So what I don't think I ever asked, what scleral designs are you typically using?
Honestly, Visionary Optics is where I used it because we had an SMAP. So that was probably 90% of the lenses. And lots of my old patients have come along. So I use that, which I guess wouldn't be with y'all's. But I use Blanchard. I've been using the One Fit a lot more too. I've used all of them at some point.
Okay. Well, the data is going to help you fit the Visionary Optics lenses if you need to refit and want to keep in the same brand. Also, we have an algorithm for Jupiter, which happens to be out of is it Excel or is it BBB? I don't know. One of the distributor labs has got it. So there is a algorithm that can help you nail a thing down. But Don Sanders doesn't want to talk to us about writing an algorithm for Visionary Optics. No offense to Greg Denier, I like Greg, but
Yes.
anyway. So let's come back to the Eagle sensor a little bit. So the current, and this is not current, I need to update this, but this is the lens list, or was the lens list a couple months ago. So you can see we've got a ton of scleral algorithms written. Can you see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Make it bigger. Yeah, and then now we're working into Ortho-K with the Paragon CRTs limit up, but there's going to be a few more coming up the next few months. You can fit hybrids, fit instrument to fit scleral GPs, or even soft lenses. So one of the things that Bausch finally wants to do, Bausch & Lomb bought Alden from Charlie Creighton and I in 2016, and they're finally getting around to paying a little bit of attention to Novacone, which is that soft lens for emerging keratoconus.
Mhm.
And they're going to update the material, and then we're going to write an algorithm based on the new material so that it is high oxygen transmissibility. So here's the lens list. I'll send you the updated one in an email here as a follow-up.
Perfect.
Quick ROI. So the assumptions in this return on investment analysis are spending about 6 hours a week working with sclerals and scleral patients. You're going to get about $1,500 per fit. The average visit pre-ESP is 3.5. That's been somewhat agreed on by a whole bunch of users out there. They might get an argument, is a 3, is a 3.5, I don't know, but it's in that neighborhood. That's on average. So some of them are one and done, even without an ESP, and some of them are complicated. And I gave this analysis a generous learning curve of 4 months. I think 2 months is typically more often the experience, but let's say 4 months. So by learning curve, I mean you're going to get from 3.5 visits to 1.5 visits per eye in 4 months. And when you do that, the time saving means that you're going to gain a tremendous amount of revenue. And if you buy into these assumptions, you're going to pay for the unit in 5 months, 4 months. The unit lists for 26K, so you can turn that thing pretty quick. And you mentioned earlier in the demo that your time constraints are making it
Yeah, just
important to speed things up.
I usually like to block off larger sets of time, but whenever we're already booked out for weeks and I have all these pre and post ops to see for the surgeons, it's not as much time I can spend for these. You said how long until it's usually you kind of break even?
Yeah, well, that depends how fast you get to the learning curve and how fast you can bring in the additional patients to take up the time that you can make more money. But
Yeah.
I gave you guys I gave this thing a generous 4 months. Karen, this is what Karen does for a living. She works with practices to get them up and running. What do you think, Karen? 2 to 3 months on average, and they're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, sometimes quicker. So there's a few that have actually done all the pre-work before they even had the ESP. So then, it's a matter of just making sure that you get enough practice taking measurements. So up and running, you could sort of be within 2-3 weeks to take good measures.
And Kelsey, if you're
if you give it
competitive,
enough time.
Kelsey, if you're competitive at all, I'll let you know that the fastest I've seen has been a fellow Houston. I assume you're a Houston alum.
Yes.
Sheila Morrison turned her around in
Yeah,
like 3 weeks. It was crazy how fast she got.
sounds about right.
Yeah.
And that's doing, I guess, that 4 months was doing how many fits a week?
It's not based on fits, it's based on time. So we're taking
Oh, okay.
6 hours a week. So it probably 3 or 4 fits a week. 45 minutes over 6. So
Okay.
8, I don't know. Eyes. These are eyes, not patients.
Gotcha.
So not terribly extravagant return on investment. I'll come back to the installation and training thing. I want to show you the eaglets nest, and I'm gonna give you a hall pass if you'll allow it. This is where all our users are. Here's a new user, Hal Elstrom.
Mhm.
You might be familiar with the name, Jason Jedlicka, and they're asking questions. And this is where users can talk to their fellow fitters. There are 194 members worldwide. Now, I'm not suggesting 194 people weigh in, but typically, the 820 rule applies with Facebook, like everything. So you get, 40 people that typically jump in on stuff. Alex Giverman, Aaron, do you know Aaron Wolf? He's in Austin or San Antonio.
I know of him. I've met him,
Yeah,
but not close.
He is, he's one of the more frequent posters. Jason Compton just joined the
Okay,
nest the
yeah.
other day. Anyway, so this is the nest. I'll bring you into this and I'll introduce you to everybody and say, be nice to Kelsey. And she's got a bunch of questions. Okay, back to the presentation. So this is where Karen jumps back into the fray. And because of COVID, we had to put an online remote installation and training program together.
Mhm.
The days of jumping on a plane from Holland and coming over to the US and doing 2 or 3 installs in the same week are thing of the past. And a lot of people are not crazy about this. I was not crazy early on about not being present. But the beauty of this is there's so much learning that can be done before the ESP even shows up at your doorstep.
Mhm.
That when it does show up, if you've done the pre-work, you're going to be in
You're
really
set.
good shape. And all you're going to have to really worry about is image acquisition at that point. And after that, it's
Yeah, and I think the really good thing about this is that you can actually do it at your own pace, but also you can get your text to look at it as well. But there's PDFs that you can have, or you can watch a video, or you can go through a training guide, PowerPoint. So you can choose your own way of doing things as well. So it's not sort of a set in stone. This is how you've got to do it. There's
Gotcha.
different suggestions of learning. So Quite often we will sort of set the techs up as well, so they're sort of okay with taking measurements and they're okay with what to do. I think if we're again talking about Sheila Morrison, she's quite happy to get her techs to do the measurements
Same here.
because they know how to recognize a good scan. They know which ones to delete, which ones to keep. They will then also place on the trial lens, so all you have to do is the over refraction and then press the button. So that that would be an ideal situation to get to from that
That's
point
kind
of
of
view.
my goal, because
So,
we have fabulous techs here. They're amazing.
Yeah.
They do our refractions. I mean, we have very good, and if they see something on a scan that's borderline, they'll go ahead and grab an extra scan or zoom in and get an extra one. They're
Yeah,
fabulous.
sometimes I see practices with that level of technical assistance, and that means that the doc doesn't even have to get involved with the image acquisition at all. They could just, okay, go over and see the text. They're going to take a couple pictures of you, come back, and you've got the MSR file on your file server. You can bring it up that afternoon when the patient's out of the way, and you can determine what lens you want to go for and walk through the first lens fit and the direct connect and be up and running. So all sorts of different opportunities to do here. So what Karen
from
likes
that
to
point
do.
of view, I suppose, so from that point of view, making sure that your text will recognize the good scan.
That's fairly easy. With the source file, you're going to see pretty quickly that now they didn't get the lid retracted well enough. Anyway, so what Karen likes to do here when she's involved with bringing the practice up and running is she'll do a Zoom call, try to set up a Zoom call with your team, I don't know, a couple weeks before the unit ships so that you guys are in good shape to do the pre-learning. The unit shows up. She's going to help you do the installation. It's a simple installation. There's like 3 pieces and a USB cord. It's a no-brainer. And then at the break between each of these
and again,
modules,
can be as involved as you want us to be.
Yeah, she also likes to have a Zoom call between each of these 3 modules: install, measure, and fit. And if there's something that comes up in the middle of install, she's here and she'll jump in. If you have technical issues with your computer attached to the ESP, we can jump on, go through TeamViewer and make sure that the cords are working and the drivers are installed properly, and things like that. So, are you going to be at the ICSC meeting by any chance?
I'm trying to. I'm not sure if I'll be able to yet, though.
Well, you can tell your bosses. You can tell your bosses you're going to be able to save $1,500 on the Eaglet Eye Surface Profiler if you show up.
Really?
We have a show discount. Yeah. No, seriously, there's going to be a decent proof of it, but there we're going to have an instrument. It's going to be an opportunity for you to see the instrument up close and personal. Either you sign a quote before that, and then you have an opportunity to actually see it. Sit down. Karen's going to be there. Sit down with Karen and get a little bit of hands-on training, or you can wait if you want and order after you see it. Your call. Obviously, your call. But
well, it's going to be probably the powers that be. The 2 surgeons I work with are super supportive and they want to do this, but they aren't the ones that are the owners. There's some other owners. Those are the ones I'll have to present to convince that this is a good investment. So any ammunition you can give me.
Yeah. Sounds like you could use a quote. I'll include the ICSC discount so that they can have a little bit of incentive to buy the plane ticket. I'll send you the lens list. I'll send you the ROI.
Yeah.
I'll be here if you want to get these guys on the phone at any point in time and answer any questions they might have. You let me know what else you need to convince them. If you need to talk to some other users, I would say, okay, so if
I can text Sheila for sure.
Yeah, text Sheila for sure. She actually doesn't have, I'm going to be honest with you, she doesn't have her unit anymore. It was a loaner from Blanchard.
Oh, okay.
And Canada is a bit of a challenge. It's not approved in Canada yet, so she's being careful.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so don't ask her how she got it. What the heck was that? I was going to say something else. So yeah, so I'll send you a bunch of information. We'll send you a quote. I'll date it out as far as I can get away with. I'm working with Tom Arnold and Melissa Barnett to get a show special discount for ICSC so that I can help you guys get in for save you a couple bucks.
Yeah.
So I'll keep in the loop on that. And I'll bring you to the NAS. So yeah, okay, so that's a good question for the NAS. So when I bring you in, I'm gonna, if you're cool, that I'm gonna say, you know what, Kelsey works in an MD practice. She's wondering if you guys have any advice on how to convince the ownership that this
Yeah,
is.
basically implementation and
Yeah.
tips and tricks on that.
Okay.
Hopefully it won't be too hard, but I know the other two surgeons are asking for some toys on their end too, so we want a lot of toys all at the same time, but I think mine might be more affordable than theirs.
I hope so. And also if they want to make you as efficient as possible, they might want to step up to the plate.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me know what else we can do to help. I'll send the stuff on the way. Any questions before we let you go?
What was the quote on it? What it's going for these days?
26 is the list. I'll take
$26.
$1,500 off on the quote.
Okay,
Assuming you're going to show up in Fort Lauderdale in July.
okay. Well, that's
Yeah,
cheaper than the Pentacam that the other doctors are asking for, so.
Yeah, yes, it is. It's quite a bit cheaper. Obviously the downside is that the Pentacam can do some things that we can't, but the flip side is we can do more with special lens fitting than the Pentacam can.
Yeah, I was looking at it at GSLS with theirs, but they're not compatible with as many labs. And I like doing something. Y'all does the hybrids as well, correct?
Yeah,
Or
we
some
fit
of those?
hybrids.
Okay.
We fit hybrids. We're one of the devices authorized to fit ScanFit.
Mhm.
We're one of the devices authorized to fit AccuLens Maxim 3D. Where else are we in competition with OCT, Karen, on algorithms? So, yeah, I mean, the data you get off this, you know, we go out to 20 millimeters with real data. OCT is not typically go out anywhere near that far. So
I still do ScanFit too, because I used to do the iPrint Pro, my old practice, but I haven't recertified here yet. But
well, I can hook you up with Naomi Anderson out or Chris Sint, and they can help you. They can give us a little boost because they love the ESP. Chris, if you gave her a couple drinks, would tell you that probably you're going to get better data out of the ESP than out of the Pentacam.
good to know. Well, I appreciate you guys talking to me about everything. I mean, a lot of it's out of my hands, but looking at the numbers and how many, mostly just giving them how many fits it would take to get to breaking even, I think would be kind of the seller on it. So that's helpful.
Yeah. So I need to apologize. Am I the first guy, I don't know, whatever, that's mistaken the Berkeley for you being in California on the West Coast?
No, someone else did whenever I was at GSLS, when I said I was at Berkeley, because I don't think about it because anyone in Houston knows Berkeley. It's just the big surgery center in Houston. So I don't think about it. But when I'm at a conference and I was like, oh yeah, so just started working for Berkeley, they're like, you moved to California? I'm like, oh no.
All right. Well, we'll let you go, but we're here. So if you got any questions, something pops up, let me know, and we'll help
Appreciate
you out
it,
any
guys.
way we can to help convince the management team that this is a good move.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Take
Y'all
care.
have a great day.
Oh,
Thank you.
Kelsey, I'm going to invite you to the Eagle's Nest. You're going to have to
Okay.
say yes. Okay.
I can do that.
Okay. All right.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Nice to meet you.
Likewise. Have a good one.
Thanks, Karen. Bye-bye.
See you
Thanks.
later.
Yeah, that was a good demo. I thought she